Have you ever wanted to do a series and you don't know where to start? Well, the place to start is, I think, to get your substrates ready. So I ordered 12 10 by 10 substrates. And these particular substrates come with floater frames. So the first thing I did was I took them out of the floater frames, taped the edges, and then I put a coat of gloss medium, or you could use GAC 100 on the surface of the wood. This is Golden's GAC 100, and this is recommended as a kind of a primer coat for your wood, or you may use Golden's gloss medium, which is what I chose. Now, a lot of people just go ahead and paint on the wood, or they put a coat of gesso right on the wood. There's a couple of reasons not to do that. Number one, wood has a natural oil and it will leach out onto your painting. So I've done this before. You get a real nice painting, and a couple days later, the colors changed. Something's leached out from the wood and changed your paint. So that's one reason to put a barrier coat down. Gesso is not the preferred barrier coat. Couple of reasons. Number one, our wood panels are created from plywood. And plywood is wood that's compressed in layers. These layers can delaminate, especially with moisture. Gesso has a high water content, which can get in between the little tiny microscopic cracks in the wood and delaminate, creating bubbles on your panels. This has happened to me more than once, and it can really be a bummer. So go ahead and give it a generous coat of the GAC 100 or the gloss medium before you start. So the next step is, what am I going to do? Well, whatever you choose to do, set these little buggers up and do the same thing on all of them. I'm not making exactly the same marks on each one, but I'm making similar marks on all of them. That way, when I'm finished, I'm going to have a cohesive body of work. And the beauty about doing the series, when you've just got 12 pieces and you just do, I'll do a little mark on this one, a little mark on that one, a little mark on that one. You don't have to obsess with the content, with the composition of your piece. You just quickly move from piece to piece to piece to piece. So that's the rhythm when you start. Eventually, what happens is you're going to hone in on one or two pieces, bring them to completion, and eventually you'll bring everything to completion. But you're working all together and you're bringing them all to completion together. So all of your pieces should be similar and different. Similar enough that you've got a series, different enough that not every single piece is the same. So I'm having a lot of fun with the composition, each one a little bit different. And I don't have to worry about how great they are, especially at the beginning stages. It just doesn't matter. Just have fun with it to start. I got together with some artist friends yesterday, and we were talking about whether or not making art really stretches your imagination, stretches your mind, especially for more mature artists, does it keep your mind sharp? And there was actually some debate between us as to whether or not that was the case. One thing I can tell you for sure is that by doing art, you're absolutely absorbed in the process of what you're doing. It takes you away from the everyday world. It's like going on a mini vacation. It's absolutely going to refresh your mind. That isn't saying that it won't challenge you, that it won't upset you, disappoint you, but you can go from absolute disappointment to absolute elation within a matter of seconds. I think it's a really healthy activity for us to keep our minds sharp. I do believe that. And to keep our minds and our bodies relaxed. A lot of my paintings tend to be reflections on nature, which are also reflections on the cycle of life, the cycle of my life. And I feel like I'm really getting in touch with myself when I focus on nature, when I focus on creating. And I don't like to dictate what the outcome is going to be. I like to let it flow and surprise me. It's like when you go to a foreign country and every corner you turn is a different surprise. It's not your neighborhood, it's not your daily routine, it's a new routine, and it can be really challenging and really exciting. So one thing I try not to do is to get into old patterns. That's really easier said than done. Because if something's working for you, it's easy to resort to that thing that works. But it's a tricky balance because you don't want every painting to be different. You want the paintings to be recognizable as your style, something you do. Just don't get stuck in the same pattern. Let it change. You know how you do that? You pay attention to what the paint is telling you. If you listen to your painting, it's going to talk to you. It's going to tell you where you need a particular color, or if you get to a point that you're saying, what can I do next? If you look closely at the painting, it's got a hint of what to do. There may be a shadow saying, oh, look here. This is an area you could work on. You could create a shadow here. Or when you get really good with composition, it may suggest compositions to you. Follow those compositions. Sometimes you don't have to superimpose a composition on top of your painting. The painting's creating its own composition. You know what I mean by that? It's just that when you start off a painting with a lot of strokes, a lot of energy, and then you stand back and say, oh my goodness, this is so busy. I need to quiet it down. How can I do that? Look at the painting. It's probably suggesting a composition to you right there. So brutally take out all the marks that aren't that composition. It's easy to fall in love with little marks. It's dangerous to fall in love with little marks because a bunch of little marks don't create a good painting. A good composition is going to create a good painting. See the composition that the painting is suggesting and eliminate what isn't there. Now, if that isn't going to work for you, you can actually superimpose a composition on top of the busyness that you've created, and then you can quiet it down from there. So sometimes I do that with stencils. You know, I love stencil work, and stencil will certainly superimpose a composition, but I don't just leave it at that. I'll put a stencil down, I'll scrape the stencil off, I'll put an offset stencil over the top of the first stencil, just anything to create interesting marks, shapes, and compositions. One of the questions that I asked myself was, am I going to do paint? Am I going to do mixed media, or am I going to do cold wax on these 12? I decided to start with paint. The reason is this. When I start with paint, I can easily add collage. I can easily create mixed media. And if I want, after that, I can put cold wax over it. So remember, you can do cold wax over acrylic. It doesn't work the other way around. You can't do acrylic over cold wax, but cold wax over acrylic works great. So I have a lot of options open to me. Who knows where this series is going to go? I'm pretty excited to be working on it, and I'll keep you informed, okay? Go to your studio, do your thing. It's very important to keep practicing. We don't have to have a plan. Just go in, make a mark, any mark. Make a mistake, because that's how we learn. Painting is a practice. Practice makes perfect, all right? Please subscribe, like, and share. I'll talk to y'all soon.